Miriam Levinson never liked standing out. At 16, she had mastered the art of blending into the background, quietly navigating the crowded hallways of Westbrook High with her backpack slung low and her curly dark hair often tucked beneath a hoodie. But no matter how much she tried to disappear, the cruel whispers and mocking stares always found her. It wasn't just because she was new to town or because of her accent, it was because Miriam was Jewish. The bullying started subtly, a snide comment here, a fake cough that sounded suspiciously like a slur there. But over time, the cruelty escalated. One afternoon, as Miriam sat alone in the cafeteria, 3 of the school's notorious troublemakers, Chad, Ryan, and Kelsey, cornered her. They mocked her beliefs, threw pennies at her, and called her names she had only read about in history books. Miriam clenched her fists beneath the table, biting her tongue, knowing her parents had begged her to just stay calm and focus on your studies. But on that cold Friday, everything changed. The cafeteria buzzed with laughter and chatter when Chad suddenly slammed a plate down in front of Miriam. On it was a greasy, half-eaten pork sandwich. He sneered, his friends laughing behind him. "Hey, Levinson," he taunted loud enough for everyone to hear. "Eat it. Or maybe you're too good for real food." Miriam's chest tightened. Pork wasn't just something she didn't eat, it was a violation of her deeply held faith, a line that had never been crossed in her entire life. She shook her head silently, pushing the plate away. That's when Ryan grabbed her shoulder, shoving her hard against the bench. "Eat it," he hissed, his grin wide, sensing her fear. Something inside Miriam snapped. Memories of her grandmother's stories about surviving persecution flooded her mind, the tales of courage, of never letting anyone strip away her dignity. She thought of her parents' sacrifices to move here for a better life, of every time she'd stayed silent to avoid trouble. Not this time. In one swift motion, Miriam stood up. Chad smirked, thinking she was about to flee. But instead, she clenched her fist and, with a strength she didn't know she had, threw a single punch that connected with Chad's jaw. The crack was audible. Gasps echoed through the cafeteria. Ryan lunged forward, and Miriam spun, delivering another punch that sent him sprawling to the floor. Kelsey froze, backing away in shock. For the first time, the entire cafeteria was silent. Teachers rushed over, separating Miriam from the bullies, but the damage was done, literally. Chad and Ryan both ended up with fractured jaws, their smug faces replaced with pain and disbelief. Miriam stood there, trembling, her hands bruised but her spirit unbroken. The principal's office was tense. Miriam sat across from Mr. Hayes, her knuckles scraped, her heart still pounding. She expected expulsion, maybe even the police. But before anyone could speak, dozens of students flooded the hallway outside the office. Word had spread fast, not just about the punch, but why Miriam had done it. For years, everyone had been too afraid to stand up to Chad's gang. Miriam's act of defiance shattered that fear. One by one, students started speaking out. They told teachers about the bullying, the harassment, the constant torment that Miriam and others had endured. By the end of the week, Chad, Ryan, and Kelsey were suspended indefinitely. The school introduced strict anti-bullying policies, and support groups were formed for marginalized students. But Miriam's real challenge wasn't just surviving school, it was facing herself. That night, as she sat with her parents, expecting anger or disappointment, her father instead placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You didn't just protect yourself," he said softly. "You protected your faith, your dignity, and every kid who's been too scared to fight back." The next Monday, Miriam walked through the halls not as the quiet, invisible girl, but as someone unshakable. Students who once ignored her now offered smiles and high fives. She wasn't seeking attention or revenge, she simply wanted to be left in peace. But in standing her ground, Miriam had sparked something bigger, a movement of courage that no fist alone could have achieved. And though she never glorified that day, when people whispered about the moment a Jewish girl broke 2 jaws with 1 punch, Miriam knew it wasn't about violence. It was about reclaiming her voice, her strength, and proving that even in silence, a single act of bravery can echo louder than a lifetime of fear.